Hi everybody, Norman Van Aken here with one of the books from the Treasure Book series. Those of you who have been watching these things know that 90-something% of the time they are recipe books. The books that have taught me so much about how to be a better cook. The craft of cooking became something that I knew I really did not know in the beginning, and I needed to learn, and going to school was not in the cards economically, but books were and remain. So I said most of the books have been recipe books. The book that I'm going to talk to you about now, though, is not a recipe book. It is a book that celebrates the city of New York. This is not, there are recipes, but this is not a book that I studied for recipes. This is a book that hit me hard in understanding what for many would be considered the greatest city for food in the United States, and for many the world. People can argue about that all the live long day. We're not here to do that. We're here because we want to show our appreciation for books. Arthur Schwartz is a person who I might have met, and if I did, it was probably at City Meals on Wheels in New York, because there's a bookmark here, a belated thank you gift for all of our chefs, compliments of Gail Green, and many people will know that name, and Arthur Schwartz, the author of this book. This book came out in 2004. Again, it's a book that gets into the celebration of New York. That's why it's named Arthur Schwartz's New York City Food, an opinionated history, and more than 100 legendary recipes. And I'm sure he was able to talk to restaurateurs of many eras to share the recipes that make New York what it makes it New York. Okay, getting into the contents here. This is going to give you a quick layout of why this book is the way it is, so affecting in terms of the food, the history of food. In the beginning, Seafood City, Delmonico's, possibly the first restaurant, per se restaurant, feeding the people, the golden age of cocktails, the Germans, the Irish, the Jews, the Italians, the Chinese. I would have loved to have been on the research team for this book. Oh my gosh. The lobster palaces, the steak houses, the hot dogs. Okay, like I said, this came out in 2004. So we're talking 20 plus years. 20 years in the restaurant world is a long, long time. But the foundation remains. You can lay over history over and over and over again. It's like the movie Back to the Future, where Marty's going back in time and then forward in time. But certain things remain, like the clock tower. Chelsea is still where Chelsea was. Brooklyn is still where Brooklyn was. Many things do change. The migration of people being the greatest engine of change of all. He begins in the introduction. I was born in Brooklyn in 1947. My parents, Sidel Bedona Sonkin and Lauren Schwartz, were born in Brooklyn too. And 3 of my 4 grandparents were native New Yorkers. The 4th, my maternal grandfather, Louis Sonkin, was born in one of the many shuttles around Minsk in Russia, but he came to New York City in 1917 when he was only 13. Can you imagine what that young man must have been thinking when he arrived into the harbor of New York to see that city in 1917. I am not the first in my family to be obsessed with food. I'd like to say I was born with a wooden spoon in my mouth because there was always cooking going on. And I was always asked to taste and offer my comments. Enough salt? Enough pepper? Does it have the right T-A-A-M? That's the Yiddish word for deep, soul-satisfying flavor. That's how I became a food critic. They trained me young. And when you're in New York City, that's the place to go and get cookbooks right there. Kitchen Arts and Letters. I love that place. We did look at the chapters before. We open up here to Seafood City. Look at that spread of beautiful seafood on ice. And then, as is often the case with my books, there's some memento of a day. This one from 1999 when we went to Le Cirque. People get fixated on the prices and how the prices are so different, but that's not really what I look at. I look at the food. the construction of the food, the dishes, the ingredients. Yes, things don't cost the same as they used to. Gas is not the same price as it used to be. There are recipes. There's Manhattan clam chowder. Oyster pan roast. Okay, this takes place in the one of the greatest gastronomic attractions and one of the greatest indoor sights of any kind is the bar at the Grand Central Oyster Bar, where watching the cooks prepare the pan roasts and seafood stews is as beautiful and engrossing as sitting in the audience of the New York City Ballet. We've been there, and I've seen this, and I totally agree with Arthur. What do we have here? Beyond the Pale. Okay. I think one of the great food writers of our not too distant past at all, Jonathan Gold of Los Angeles. What Mr. Gold did with Los Angeles, in many ways, Arthur Schwartz did as well for the city of New York, which is to go out and learn and dive down deep into the culture. And in this chapter, me not being born and raised in the Jewish faith, this gave me an opportunity to learn about things I did not grow up with, even though my mother and my maternal grandmother both were born and raised in New York City, and they spoke so lovingly about the delicatessens of the day, of which there's not a whole lot left, but still a whole lot more than in most American cities. This book is a trip back in time, pizzerias. You love food and you want to know about the food and the culture and the history of food. This is your kind of book. I have a scale here in front of me just to kind of put this in perspective. I'm curious. Okay, so here we are at 0. This big book weighs over 3 pounds. It's a hefty book. I went online, looked at the place that I buy books from, Thrift Books. You can get this book for $7. That's crazy. I mean, this make a great present too. I don't get any money from Thrift Books. I probably met Mr. Schwartz, or maybe if I did, it was one of those big events like the City Meals events, which are so tremendous for so many reasons. But I wanted to do a book that celebrates New York City, the food, the people, the diversity, and this book does that wonderfully. So check it out and go online and see if it's your tea. An opinionated history and more than 100 legendary recipes. This week's treasure book. All right, everyone. I'll talk to you again soon. Have a wonderful time. Bye-bye.